Hey, my name is Ivy Starnes and I'm a gaited horse trainer in Fort Worth, Texas. Today we're talking about how pain can affect your horse's behavior. Now, many of us know that pain can affect things like the horses can have lameness. A lot of people know about ulcers now, but I'm going to tell you two examples that I know personally where pain affected the horse's behavior, but it was not the first thing that the owners looked at. And I would love to know if you have any stories where you found out that pain was causing your horse's behavior. So the first story I have, I worked with at a clinic last year, and the mare was new to the horse owner. And one of the things that we found was that she didn't like to stand for mounting. Now, this wasn't the horse is scared, running around, nervous. This horse was very, very calm, but just didn't want to stand really still for mounting, would just move away. Now, we worked on it that weekend, but I suggested to the owner that possibly there could be ulcers. It could be a chiropractic thing where she had something wrong with her back and it hurt. And her moving away from the mounting block was her only way of telling us that something wasn't right. Well, I found out just a couple weeks ago that this was indeed the case. The owner took her home, had a chiropractor adjust her, found she had a rib or two out, and after that, the horse stood perfectly for mounting. Now, the thing is, it's super easy to overlook a behavior like this. We could say, oh, maybe the horse was never taught to stand at the mounting block. Maybe, we just need to train her. But when your horse is offering a behavior, you need to know if it's based on pain, if there's actually a physical reason causing that behavior. Now, in that case, the owner didn't know the horse well, and so we were kind of just taking a shot in the dark that it could be pain. But what if it's a horse you know really well, and you know that the horse shouldn't be acting this way because they've changed suddenly? What do you do? So this summer, I was asked to come look at a horse here in Texas, and the horse was nervous. Now, they'd been riding this horse for like over a year and she'd been wonderful. They trailered her places, and then all of a sudden or quickly, she stopped gaiting. She was spooky, high-headed, nervous, jiggy, scared even on her own property. Very scared, wouldn't relax, wouldn't put her head down, and this was very not normal. And they'd been working on it, and she paid me to come out and train. And I said, I worked on a horse for like over an hour and made no progress. And because I was working at it from a training perspective and saw no progress after an hour, I said, you know what? I bet this is pain. I said, now, I don't know what it is. First thing I said you could do is you could give her bute for a day or two and see if the behavior goes away as just a way to test, not a way to cure. And I said two things. I would, since she's done a lot of trailering and traveling, I would treat for ulcers. I would possibly test for Lyme and EPM. And we'll get to EPM in a minute. And I'm also going to recommend you have a chiropractor out. Well, I found out later they had a chiropractor out a couple weeks later. The horse got adjusted and that behavior went completely away. Completely. The horse went back to how she was. This horse was in pain and needed to be adjusted. But most of the time as owners, we don't necessarily think of pain as being the first reason that a horse could be acting up or showing a behavior. And in this case, it was a whole bunch of behaviors of not gaiting, high-headed, nervous, jiggy, spooky. And it ended up that it was pain. So there's another story. I'm also at one of the same clinics. I had a horse that used to be able to gait well. The owner said this horse gaited. She brought the horse to the clinic. It's like, this horse isn't gaiting now. And sure enough, the horse was pacey. We did get some head down and I could definitely see the gait. But after the first session that day, I was like, I think you're right. I think there's something wrong. Well, at the clinic, the lady who hosts it does also do body work. And so she worked on that horse. And after one session, that next day, so she had a session to treat her and then had a whole night off. And the next day, the horse just started gaiting. So that was a case where definitely it was pain that the horse changed their behavior, went from being very, very solid gaited to being pacey, basically. And because there was this change, we could assume that something happened. I also want to tell you why you should be considering EPM almost no matter where you live. So at another clinic, and the horse showed up, was healthy the week before, it showed up at the clinic and started exhibiting colic symptoms, and we were treating it. We were giving alfalfa, giving it, bute, all the right things, talking to vets, and the horse would get better for a little bit and then seem uncomfortable. I mean, it would eat and it would drink, and so it wasn't dehydrated. We did the clinic, we got the horse gaiting. The owner goes home and, assuming it's colic, once it gets back, find out that it actually has EPM. And so this lady has done a ton of research, and she wanted me to point out that EPM is prevalent in many parts of the country. So even if you don't live in one of those, your horse could be carrying EPM from wherever it lived before. And the symptoms of EPM are not always what we think of as neurological or neurologic symptoms, where they walk funny or they start to fall over, or there's so many symptoms that are behavioral that don't look like EPM. So you as the horse owner, it is your job to advocate for your horse to the vets. So a lot of times I've talked to people and their vets have said, oh, it's not Lyme, we're not going to test for it. Oh, it's not EPM. Get your vets to do the stinking test. Test for EPM, test for Lyme, and then you'll have a much better picture. Those blood tests, honestly, are not the most expensive thing out there, and it'll give you a good place to start if it's not that. Have a chiropractor work on your horse, or a body worker. Somebody take a look at that. Those are huge. Those give you huge symptoms, those huge problems, and the symptoms don't always look like what we're used to. Lyme disease, by the way, often is a mysterious lameness issue. Now, also, we know other things can cause mysterious lameness as well. I'm not saying it's always these things. But when your horse changes the behavior, it's your job to take a look. Chrissy says, it's your money, they won't say no if you're paying. Actually, that is not true, Chrissy. I've talked to people who said they took their horse to the vet and wanted the Lyme disease, and they wouldn't do the test. I know when I went to the doctor a year ago when I was sick, I asked for a Lyme disease, and I wanted to pay for the test. I'm there, I'm paying. And she was like, why? Why do you want this test? Have you been bitten by a tick? I was like, no, but I know I've used to live where there was lots of Lyme disease and so they really didn't want a test. And I had to really insist that I really wanted it. And you may have that same battle with the vets too. But I'm just saying, not all vets are like that. Just advocate for your horse. Test for EPM, test for Lyme, possibly test for some of the other tick-borne diseases. Pain can be as subtle as your horse not wanting to stand at the mounting block, and it can be as major as your horse becoming spooky and nervous, or not gaiting or moving differently. And the trick is, what if you get a horse that's new to you and they're giving you behaviors that look like training behaviors, but they could be pain. It could be ulcers. It could be foot pain. I'm going to tell you another example. This is, I believe, very common. Many horses are trippy. They trip, and people are looking for a reason. And there could be many reasons, from saddle fit to muscle atrophy, bad rider. But let me tell you one thing that can very likely be the cause of a lot of horses tripping. And one thing could be heel pain. If your horse has heel pain, they're going to not want to land on their heels, and they're going to want to land on their toes. When they land toe first, this is going to make them more likely to trip. I know a horse that I went to ride with the owner. We were working on gait, but also the owner said, my horse is very trippy. And I was like, let me watch this horse move. So she was riding her horse, and I got off and was watching the horse walk, and the horse would land not heel first, but would land toe first. And I saw that, and I said, I bet your horse is sore in their heels. And I picked the feet up, and there were no rocks. There was no obvious thrush. But I said, ask your farrier about it when they come, because I'm not a farrier. So she asked the farrier, they put shoes on that had some heel support, and all of a sudden the horse stopped tripping. I believe that when we let toes get too long, and there's many reasons people do this, especially in the gaited horse industry, when those toes get too long, the heels start to get weaker and possibly sore. So one of the things I'm going to do, and I'm going to make a video probably next month, the challenge is going to be for everybody to go out and video your horse at the walk and faster speeds, focusing on the feet to see if your horse is landing toe first or heel first. So if you're watching this video, you can go ahead and get started on that. Watch for that video to come out soon. And I'm going to show you how to do that with your camera, hopefully. And I want people to start realizing, how is their horse moving? How is that affecting it? So it could be many, many things causing a horse pain. But at least if you're aware that it's a possibility, you can start looking. You can start to try to find those answers and hopefully help you and your horse. So don't dismiss your horse's behavior when it could be pain. Thank you guys so much for watching. I know it's really cold this week, so wherever you are, stay warm. Chrissy did post, she said, I just did that with a friend because one of hers been toe first landing, so we all checked our own. So yeah, they all looked and to see that. So anyway, you can check your horse. I'll do more video on that. Stay warm this week. You guys, you got this.